Namaste. Welcome to Jack Colley's Black Book. This is episode 70, When God Visits During Halftime. This is the last episode in this series, and I'm hoping that Kendrick Lamar will watch one of these and maybe call me up and want to have lunch together. Kendrick, have your people call my people. Actually, Kendrick, I don't have people, so I thought to myself as I kind of wrap this up, as I wrap up looking at all of the symbols, some of the symbols I'm not even sure that Kendrick intentionally included, because sometimes symbols just show up in stories, they show up in narratives, have this kind of life of their own. When somebody came to Kendrick Lamar, we would like you to make a halftime production at the Super Bowl. What did he write down first? And I think I've got just a few ideas about what that might be. And then once Kendrick and I have a chance to have lunch together and talk about this, then maybe I'll have a follow-up episode and really tell you what he was thinking. One of the criticisms I heard was that there were no white individuals like myself. And I had made the argument that there can't be. You couldn't take a narrative like this. If there were one white face in this entire narrative, it would not have worked. But it was near the end of the performance, just before this scene right here, where a white name was dropped. And that white name was John Stockton. And I look him up, it's a white guy. So I find myself in this space where I'm saying, okay, what is Kendrick Lamar's great grandiose theme that is coming through this production? John Stockton, it turns out, was a famous basketball player. Specifically, he was a guard. The other thing I noticed in the halftime show is not once was a white person criticized. Yes, absolutely, the American government as an institution was taken to task. Not once did Kendrick Lamar insult or criticize an individual of European descent. John Stockton holds the record for assists, is when a player on a basketball team passes the ball to another player in a way that leads to a score. He was not famous for making points, passed the ball to other players and allowed them to score. But I looked at his face and I thought, here's an unassuming individual. Here's an individual that strikes me as being humble, I think. And I'm just trying to read this from his face. I don't know about his basketball career or anything like that. I don't know about his personal life. Was this halftime show on some level saying this is a potential way forward? I mean, this guy doesn't strike me as a person who struggles with white guilt. You see, I think when you take this idea of white guilt and you say, I can't say certain things. I feel like, white people don't have their own history month and, white people can't have their own, halftime show. Come on, that's been done quite a few times before. But it's almost like you hear white people use the phrase white guilt, and I'm anticipating, the next thing out of your mouth is that you somehow feel oppressed. And I hope that voice of reason steps in. And I also don't think dropping John Stockton's name at the end of this performance had anything to do saying there is white privilege or there is not white privilege. I have white privilege. I will also say I have orthodontia privilege, because having white skin and straight teeth have given me advantages in certain ways. John Stockton seems to have some nice teeth. When something bubbles up inside of you and you feel defensive, you need to ask yourself the question, what is that all about? And I was born in 1967, and I lived through the 70s and the 80s aware of racial discrimination. As a child in the 70s, I listened to my uncles and my grandfather, and especially my great-grandfather, tell racist jokes. And we watched television shows that had all-white casts, and the news was broadcast by white anchors. And when we did see black faces show up on our television screens, it was very seldom in a positive context. Making a guess that John Stockton understood white privilege enough to know that when you're on the basketball court, you're there to give your best game and to not rely on the color of your skin. His calling, if you will, his talent, his gift was to assist. I don't even think that Kendrick Lamar had the goal of pointing out white pride. I'm talking about the dangerous, sinister pride that causes one to say, you are worth less. By no means am I talking about an individual's pride of being of English descent or of being Italian. I don't think Kendrick Lamar intended for John Stockton to be a white savior complex. That because you're experiencing some sort of white guilt because of your ancestors, you seem to now think you can go to the other extreme and become the white savior. And nobody needs a white savior. And John Stockton doesn't strike me as the type of individual individual that if he reads this, the next thing out of his mouth would be, well, wait a minute, all lives matter. Does this mean to you that everybody has a voice at the table, has equal value, no matter their place in society, no matter what country they're from, no matter what continent they live on? I think what Kendrick Lamar is saying, like, don't feel like you have to experience white guilt. Don't feel like you have to acknowledge or argue or be on the defensive about white privilege. Don't feel like you have to be the white savior. Just be authentic. And what that means is that when you look in the mirror, you're able to ask questions. Why do you feel a certain way about somebody whose skin color is different than you? What do you bring to the game of life that makes your life better and other people around you, their lives better? It's about being fully conscious, maybe on some level, about being fully aware, about not only walking on the water, but walking above the water. And I think, yes, it's being proud of my heritage, being proud of my culture, being proud of who I am. But maybe on some level, it's about all of us just being proud that we're human beings, that we're alive, and that we have this opportunity to accept each other regardless of our culture, because I really believe in the goodness of the human heart. And I can say with confidence that this is my brother and this is my sister, and that our different perspectives and our different cultures, when we all bring that to the table, we are able to help each other grow. We are able to bring peace to each other. And while I'm sure I'll never fully understand and comprehend if that was Kendrick Lamar's intentional message or not, I agree with him wholeheartedly that we have got to be careful of institutions, religions, anything that promotes division, and we need to stand against in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from all cultures, all nations, all continents, all socioeconomic statuses, all genders, all sexual orientations. It's really about standing against the institution that I think Kendrick Lamar was really getting at. Namaste, my friends.